The hour has come. In John 13, Jesus has eaten that final meal with his disciples prior to his betrayal and arrest in the garden. In John 14 through 17, the disciples are making the journey to the garden. In fact, the last verse of John 14, Jesus says, "Arise, let us go from here." And while Jesus knows what's about to happen, the disciples still do not. Jesus knows that he's going to be arrested. Jesus knows that he's going to die on the cross, and he's going to speak words to his disciples to provide them with the faith that they will need to sustain them during this very difficult and challenging time of many hours that would lie ahead of them. And so it almost seems like in the first verse of chapter 15, Jesus just abruptly changes the subject, but he's really using an illustration here that will drive home the point of the necessity to remain faithful. In fact, Jesus says in verse 1, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit." It's very likely Jesus saw a plant on the way and taking opportunity of this being there, used it as an illustration to drive home this very central idea that the disciples would face a difficult time, but it could be overcome if they would remain faithful. In fact, that's what he begins saying in verse 4. In fact, from verses 4 and the next 4 verses, 7 times, Jesus will use the word abide. That word is intended to teach the disciples to remain faithful, to abide in him. Notice how Jesus says it and repeats it to emphasize it to them and to you and me. John 15, verse 4, "Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, and you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers, and the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you." 7 times. 7 times Jesus uses the word abide. Now, an English teacher might have marked him off for redundancy in using the same word so many times in such a short span of time, but we understand that Jesus is teaching those disciples something, and he's teaching you and me something. Abide in him. And notice how he emphasizes that apart from him, without him, we can do nothing. We're like a branch that's been cut off a tree. We've lost our life source, we wither, and we're good for nothing but to be thrown into the fire and to be burned. Jesus emphasizes to them and to you and me, abide in him.